Bannack sits deep in the rugged mountains of southwestern Montana, in the western United States, on the continent of North America. Today, it is one of America's most famous ghost towns, frozen in time beneath endless skies and surrounded by dry hills that seem to hold their breath. At first glance, it looks like nothing more than an abandoned relic of the Wild West, a forgotten settlement left behind when the gold dried up. But Bannack's silence feels different. It feels heavier, like the town remembers everything that happened there. And if old stories are true, some say it never truly let go of the people who died within its borders. There are places where history fades quietly. Then there are places where history stains the ground so deeply that no amount of time can wash it away. Bannack is one of those places. The wind moves strangely through its empty wooden buildings, whispering through cracked windows and broken doors, as if carrying voices from another century. Visitors often describe an immediate sense of unease the moment they step into town. Some feel watched. Others hear footsteps where no one is standing. Some claim they have seen figures moving inside abandoned buildings, only to find them empty when they investigate. Bannack is not just abandoned. It feels occupied. Its story begins in 1862, when prospector John White discovered gold in Grasshopper Creek. The discovery spread quickly across the western frontier. Within months, thousands of miners, fortune seekers, gamblers, outlaws, and opportunists flooded into the valley. Practically overnight, Bannack was born. Like many boom towns of the American West, it exploded into existence almost instantly. Wooden buildings rose from the dust, saloons filled with drunken laughter, gambling halls stayed open through the night. Blacksmiths hammered steel beneath the roar of miners celebrating fresh claims. Hotels opened their doors, stores lined the dirt streets. For a brief moment, Bannack was alive with ambition and wealth. Gold poured from the surrounding creeks, drawing even more settlers. In fact, Bannack became so significant that it was named the first territorial capital of Montana in 1864. It was the center of power, business, and opportunity in the region. But prosperity on the frontier often comes with violence, and Bannack was no exception. The town quickly gained a reputation for lawlessness. Murders were common. Disputes over claims ended in gunfire. Robberies happened along nearby trails. Men disappeared into the wilderness and were never seen again. Justice was unreliable, and survival often depended on who drew faster. Yet one name would come to define Bannack's darkest chapter: Sheriff Henry Plummer. At first, Plummer appeared respectable. He was educated, well-spoken, and elected as sheriff of Bannack. To many, he seemed like the man who would bring order to the growing settlement. But rumors spread. Whispers claimed Plummer was secretly leading a ruthless gang of highway robbers known as the Innocents. The name was misleading. There was nothing innocent about them. The gang allegedly terrorized Montana's gold routes, ambushing travelers, murdering miners, and stealing shipments worth fortunes. It was said they communicated through coded signals and operated under Plummer's protection, allowing crime to flourish while suspicion stayed elsewhere. No one knew how many people they killed. Some estimates placed the number above 100. As fear spread, the citizens of Bannack reached a breaking point. With official law compromised, local vigilantes took matters into their own hands. In January 1864, they struck. One by one, suspected members of the Innocents were captured and hanged without formal trials. Then came Henry Plummer himself. Dragged from his home in Bannack in the dead of night, he was marched to the gallows and executed. To this day, historians debate whether Plummer was truly guilty or whether panic and paranoia consumed the town. Some believe he was a criminal mastermind hiding behind a badge. Others argue he was innocent, condemned by fear and frontier justice. Whatever the truth, Bannack was forever changed. because after his death, strange stories began. Locals claimed Plummer's spirit never left. Late at night, some reported seeing a man standing near the old gallows site, motionless beneath moonlight. Others heard heavy footsteps crossing empty streets after midnight, stopping just outside locked doors. Some claimed they heard knocking, slow and deliberate, only to find no one outside. Then there were the whispers, soft voices drifting through abandoned buildings, conversations impossible to make out, the sound of distant laughter from saloons that have stood empty for over a century. As years passed, Bannack's prosperity faded. Gold production slowed. New mining towns rose elsewhere. Businesses closed. Families moved away. By the early 20th century, Bannack was dying. The final residents lingered into the 1970s before leaving for good. Unlike many ghost towns that collapsed into ruin, Bannack was preserved. Today, more than 60 original structures still stand. The schoolhouse, the hotel, Mead Hotel, old homes, saloons, churches. Walking through them feels less like visiting history and more like interrupting it. Dust coats forgotten furniture, floors groan under each step. Faded wallpaper peels from walls like old skin. In some rooms, personal belongings remain exactly where they were left, as though their owners simply stepped outside and never returned. And this is where the stories become harder to dismiss. Paranormal investigators have long considered Bannack one of the most haunted places in America. Visitors have reported hearing children laughing inside the abandoned schoolhouse. Others claim they've seen figures standing in upstairs windows of the Mead Hotel. The Mead is perhaps Bannack's most infamous building. Many believe it is haunted by several spirits, including a young girl said to have drowned nearby. Guests and investigators describe cold spots that appear suddenly, objects moving on their own, and the sound of footsteps pacing empty halls. Some have captured unexplained voices on recordings. Others refuse to spend the night there again. One of the strangest legends involves a woman in black seen wandering through town after dark. Witnesses say she appears silently, her face obscured, drifting between buildings before vanishing into darkness. No one knows who she is, or if she was ever alive at all. Skeptics argue Bannack's ghost stories are products of expectation. The creaking wood, shifting temperatures, and deep silence of abandoned places naturally unsettle the mind. In darkness, imagination fills gaps with fear. And maybe that is true. But Bannack has a way of making certainty feel fragile. Even hardened skeptics often leave unsettled. There is something about the place that resists explanation. Maybe it is the violence soaked into its history. Maybe it is the memory of lives cut short by greed and betrayal. Or maybe some places simply refuse to let go of the people who shaped them. Stand alone on Bannack's main street at sunset, and you begin to understand why the stories persist. The shadows stretch long across weathered wood. The mountains darken against the horizon. The air grows still. And for a moment, the town no longer feels abandoned. It feels paused, as if somewhere just beyond sight, the miners are still working the creek. The gamblers are still shouting over cards. Horses still stamp against the dirt. Sheriff Plummer still watches from the darkness, waiting for judgment that never truly came. Then the wind moves. A door creaks open by itself, and Bannack reminds you that some towns do not die quietly. They wait, patiently, for the next visitor to walk their empty streets and wonder whether history is really gone or merely hiding in the dark, listening, remembering, and waiting to be noticed